The New York Knicks continue to remain active on the trade market, looking for different players to add to this roster. But that's not the only way the Knicks can add talent to this roster. According to an NBA insider, he notes that the New York Knicks could be very active on the buyout market, especially if two players get bought out from the Charlotte Hornets: Kyle Lowry and Gordon Hayward, two players that Tom Thibodeau adores. We're going to break down this story and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now and make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The Knicks could be very active on the buyout market, and they are looking at two players specifically: Kyle Lowry and Gordon Hayward. Now, when I heard this report, I just thought to myself, how far we've fallen. We started a few weeks ago with DeJounte Murray. Then after that, when it was clear we couldn't get him, we went to a couple of elite role players, the Malcolm Brogdons of the world. And then maybe we're thinking about other type of players that maybe weren't elite role players, but still had value and could be bought on the cheap. Tyus Jones, Daniel Gafford, and now, after all of those names, all of those targets, Bruce Brown as well, we now have fallen to where we're considering Kyle Lowry and Gordon Hayward. Two players, all due respect to them, are past their prime, especially Kyle Lowry, who now has been traded to the Charlotte Hornets because he had no impact with the Heat, and people want to sell me that he could potentially have an impact with the Knicks if we were to trade for him. Before I give my opinion on this matter, let's go ahead and break down this report from Ian Begley, an SNY insider, who noted the following after Kyle Lowry was traded. According to Begley, he notes, Kyle Lowry, potential buyout candidate. We know Tom Thibodeau is a big Kyle Lowry fan. The Knicks will have their biannual exception. They could outbid some teams if you get to the buyout market and you're looking at Lowry or other players. We looked into this further with NBA insider Steph Bondy, and he reported the following about the New York Knicks and what they're looking to do. According to Bondy, the Knicks, who, according to sources, are shopping Evan Fournier and Quentin Grimes, would have a difficult time putting together a package to match Lowry's salary. And he's mentioning that because even though Tom Thibodeau is a fan of Kyle Lowry, the thing is, the Knicks can't trade for him at this point in time, given his contract. But if he's bought out, that changes the story. According to Bondy, he'd be more likely to arrive on the New York Knicks as a free agent if the Hornets fail to agree to a deal and he's bought out. The Philadelphia native would then get to choose his destination. Bondy continues by stating, if Lowry is bought out, there'd be no shortage of suitors in a win-down mode looking for his help, whether it's the Lakers, the Sixers, and etc. Tom Thibodeau is an unapologetic fan of Lowry and called him this season one of the elite guards in the league for a long time. That followed Thibodeau's effusive praise of the NBA champion during the Heat-Knicks playoff series. Thibodeau stated during that time, whether you ask him to start or come off the bench, he's going to be really effective. Thibodeau again said that as the Heat defeated the Knicks in 6 games, with Lowry leading all scorers off the bench at 12.2 points per game. DeJounte Murray, Malcolm Brogdon, Jordan Clarkson, Bruce Brown, all names that have been linked to the Knicks. But now we hear reports that even if the Knicks don't get a trade done, let's say they can't get a deal done that they like, they are likely going to look at the buyout market for other candidates to add to this Knicks team. And if Kyle Lowry is bought out, it is absolutely clear the New York Knicks will covet him. They will value him, they will sign him, and he'll likely come off the bench, and Tom Thibodeau will look for him to have a similar impact off the bench like he did for the Miami Heat during the series with the New York Knicks. I absolutely believe that's going to be the case. And if you're asking me, and I think you already know where I'm going with this, there are so many other options. I've just named a few of them that are still available and on the market that the New York Knicks should go after right now and target before they even think about going after Kyle Lowry. Now, if you're talking about 10 years ago, all right, then maybe you can sell me the Knicks going after Kyle Lowry. Now, today, there is no shot. And you know what? I might have a little bit of an issue with it as well, too, because I remember when he was on the Raptors, The Knicks just traded for Andrea Bargnani. They gave up a first round pick in that deal. And I remember it was a few days later where the New York Knicks were rumored to have interest in Kyle Lowry and wanted to trade him to this team. And that year, he was on a down year. He didn't come into camp in shape. He was called out by his franchise and he needed to step up. He was in trade rumors, and that's what motivated him to have one of the best years of his career, and honestly, would probably helped him survive his years in Toronto for all those years later, because he kept playing better year after year after year after those statements came out. But I mentioned that because it was at that time that the New York Knicks were rumored to have to give up a first round pick and I think another player at the time to get Lowry on that Knicks team, which would have been one of the best point guards the Knicks would have had at that time if Lowry was added to the team. But Dolan did not want to give up another first round pick after the Bargnani situation, so the Knicks never ended up getting Lowry. So now, a couple of years later, the Knicks have another chance to land Lowry. The only problem is he's a shell of himself. He's not the same player. The Heat traded him away for a reason. Mind you, the Heat are a playoff contending team. And if that's the case, why would they give up Kyle Lowry? Let's ask ourselves that question. Now, I know some of you guys may be saying in the comments, well, you know what? He could be effective for this Knicks team. He's not going to have to play that many minutes. He's still good at what he does. He can still shoot the ball very well. And you know what? Even at his age, he can still be what Tom Thibodeau needs him to be. I hear you. I can understand that. But honestly, in my opinion, when there are Bruce Browns, DeJounte Murrays, Malcolm Brogdons, even Alec Burks on the table, I would rather the Knicks go after those players that fit the need better than Kyle Lowry does right now. In my opinion, if the Knicks are going after Kyle Lowry, and they're only going after him, mind you, if he's bought out, then that means the Knicks have failed to trade for anybody of significance in the trade market before the deadline, and now they're forced to look at the buyout market and forced to add other players that they see there. Kyle Lowry would definitely be one of those players, again, if he's bought out and if the Knicks don't make another move before the deadline. Those are all the things that need to happen before the Knicks get Kyle Lowry, in my opinion. But the fact that these reports are coming out now, it is a little surprising and scary to me. The only thing I can hope and pray for is that these reports are smokescreens indicating that the New York Knicks don't have to make a trade to add talent to this roster. Hopefully putting pressure on other teams looking to trade with the New York Knicks, but also looking at other offers around the league. Because if you're doing that, and now you're hearing reports that the New York Knicks are not needing to make a trade because they're very comfortable looking at the buyout market, it might make you want to trade with the Knicks faster. So maybe it's a smokescreen. I can't call that yet. I don't know. And the reason I'm saying that is because, again, Kyle Lowry is a favorite of Tom Thibodeau. And anytime a player is going to be available on the buyout market and you're a favorite of Tom Thibodeau, you're always going to be looked at differently. And I'm always going to look at you and think potentially if a buyout happens, the Knicks will focus on that more than they'll focus on a trade. And that's the scary part for me. But what's also scary is there's another player on the Charlotte Hornets that Tom Thibodeau loves as well, Gordon Hayward. And according to Steph Bondy, another NBA insider, he notes the following about the Knicks and their interest in Hayward today. According to Bondy, the Charlotte Hornets have another ill-fitting veteran on an expiring contract, Gordon Hayward, who's 33 years old, and he's a buyout candidate if he's not traded by February 8th. And again, it should be noted, Tom Thibodeau is also an admirer of Hayward's game and wanted the Knicks to sign him as a free agent in 2020. He had the following to say about Hayward when asked about him a few seasons ago regarding adding him to the roster. Thibodeau stated the following: "He reminded me of Jimmy Butler in terms of his decision-making and ability to make other people better." Thibodeau said that after Hayward signed with the Hornets for a 4-year, $120 million deal. And that goes a long way in terms of winning, according to Tom Thibodeau. Do you understand why it's a little bit scary? Because we're a few weeks away from the deadline, so anything can happen. The Charlotte Hornets look like they're still going to be active, and they look like they're going to move on from Gordon Hayward. So the good news is he might not be a buyout candidate because he might be traded to a different team. The unfortunate part is if he's not traded, just like Kyle Lowry, if he's not moved, if those two remain Charlotte Hornets after February 8th, then they both will absolutely be bought out and they will be buyout candidates for the New York Knicks to look at and add to this roster. And if they're available, or the Knicks have a hint or some information that they know that the Hornets are not going to move them and they're going to be available on the buyout market, I think the Knicks are not going to make another trade. They're going to remain patient. They're going to wait for those two to be bought out. And then once those two are bought out, they might add both of them to this roster because Tom Thibodeau loves and adores them both, loves both of their games. And honestly, if you're thinking about fit, the Knicks need somebody else who can help score off the bench. Kyle Lowry can help do that. I don't love him. I don't love the fit. I don't want Lowry here, but I'm just saying what it is. I think he can do that. Gordon Hayward, we need more size. We need another wing. We need somebody to play 15, 16 minutes off the bench. He can absolutely do that. The only problem with him is health. Same thing with Lowry. It's also health. The more you get into this game, the more you play this game, no matter how great you've been, as you get older in this league, you get worse in this league. And that's just a fact. Father Time is undefeated. So Kyle Lowry getting older in this league. Gordon Hayward getting older in this league and also dealing with injuries on and off. When you have players like that, there's always going to be a risk. So even when you add them and you think they fit a position of need, that's only going to be the case when they're available and if they're available and if they can help and if they fit and if they work with the chemistry. There's a lot of ifs there. That's why it's better for the New York Knicks to go after more of a sure thing. And I think more of a sure thing are the players that are available for trade right now. If you can't get Murray, look at a Brogdon, for instance. Look at a Bruce Brown, for instance. Because again, what the New York Knicks are looking to do is they're looking to help their bench get better. And they're also looking to help themselves make a move later on down the road for a star or a superstar, which means the player that they get has to have a sizable contract. And the two players that fit the bill that they're interested in has to be Malcolm Brogdon and Bruce Brown. And if those two are available, I would rather the Knicks go after those two before they go after Gordon Hayward and Kyle Lowry. In my opinion, those two are the New York Knicks' last resort. The players that you go after if you have nobody else to go after and you tried to get everybody else and you failed. That's the only time you go after these players. Other than that, the New York Knicks should go ahead, look the other way, look in another direction, and go after different players via trade right now that's available. I've said a number of names already, and I want the Knicks to go after those type of players. The favorite for me, the guy the Knicks must pursue, is DeJounte Murray. But if they can't because he's going to the LA Lakers, then the Knicks should go after different type of players that are available on the board today that can help the Knicks now this season and can also help them next season and in the future. And there's a lot of players that fit the bill for that. Leon Rose, New York Knicks, Worldwide West, Gerson Rosa, Knicks front office. This is up to you. You guys need to figure this out and get another player here because let's get this right. Even if you're not going to get a star, we know that Evan Fournier's on this team, and he cannot remain on this team after the trade deadline. You have to move him. You have to get another player that helps this Knicks team get better after the deadline. And if you can do that by helping facilitate a trade that gets Evan Fournier out of here, I'm all for it, and I'll be happy with it. But you just have to get that deal done because the longer you wait, the more chances other teams have to go after the players that you want. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Knicks and specifically Leon Rose does in the next few days as we get closer to the trade deadline. But what about you guys? What do you guys think about the New York Knicks and their interest in Kyle Lowry and Gordon Hayward if they're bought out? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knick fans. Peace.